What's up, everybody? Welcome to Mongols. This is our Riverhounds and Riveters Show. Joining us this week is Hounds' new coach, Adam Mitchell. Adam, welcome to the Hounds and welcome to the show, man.
I appreciate it. Hope you guys are staying warm and bundled up out there.
What is the snow situation like at your house, Adam?
After this, I'll be going for the 5th shovel of the day. So try and make sure I get to practice tomorrow. So I hope that explains it a little bit.
What time is practice tomorrow?
Should be about 12. We're trying to leave it a little bit open to see how the weather reacts. But it should be 12
for sure. Oh, good. Well, for those who aren't familiar with you, can you give everyone kind of that 30,000-foot view of how you went from being a young man in Brighton to now assistant coach for the Riverhounds?
No, I was playing kind of non-league in the UK. Got a text from a friend saying we needed a forward in college for Ashland University. So just said yeah and came out, and then did the usual college route. Ended up playing at Notre Dame College after Ashland, and then did a GA, then kind of volunteer part-time, full-time at Tiffin University in Ohio. And then my wife actually came to Pittsburgh for residency at UPMC, and the Duquesne job opened exactly that point, and got that one, and then had an amazing 6-7 years or whatever it was at Duquesne. And I think I just kind of built myself up from there, and here we are, kind of 2026 January, so at the Riverhounds. So it's been about 10 years of coaching so far, and about 15 in the US. So been a good journey.
How did that jump from Duquesne to the Hounds happen? Did you know somebody here? Did they know of you, or how did that work out?
I think it was a little bit of both. I think me and Rob have always been in touch just through recruitment, college recruitment, and we have a few mutual friends. He played at Charleston, and I played at Notre Dame College. So although we didn't play against each other, I think we missed each other by about a year, maybe 18 months. So it's just one of those things. Once you're in this kind of area, it's a lot of mutuals and just knowing each other's games and coaching and talking recruiting, and so it kind of came about through that.
Yeah. So Adam, that's kind of cool. When were you at Notre Dame College?
Great question. 2013 to 2015 would have been my graduation.
Okay. I drove from Houghton College for our students. They played a playoff game, but I think that was 2012. So I probably just missed seeing you play.
that would have been Ashland. So Ashland got the program in 2013 in June. So then I had to find the team. I was very fortunate that Notre Dame came by. So that's how I kind of ended up there. So it was cool.
Yeah. Cool. So tell us, maybe in one or two sentences, how you would describe your coaching style.
Coaching style, I think I'm very competitive, pretty intense. And so I'm pretty detail oriented. And I think that's what's been fun about being around Bushy and Rob and Vis and kind of seeing how they're working. And I'm trying to, before we get on the pitch, I'm like, let's compliment them first and foremost. They're the champions at the end of the day. So just looking to add where I can, but no, very detail oriented in how we want to play and how it works on the pitch and how exercises go through from one to another, and all the kind of the technical stuff. But no, super competitive, pretty intense with it all.
So, Adam, my first question that I have to ask: are you a Seagulls fan?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Justin will stay on.
That might have changed this whole interview if you had said no. So we're good.
I was at Withdean Stadium, which initially probably had less than Highmark as a season ticket holder. So no, I've been through kind of the full run of things there as well.
Adam, just to give you the background, Justin's wife is actually the president of the stateside Seagulls. So fan club here in America. Yes. And Justin, how many times have you been there now?
We've been to Brighton twice, and we're planning our third trip in August. So we're headed back. We haven't been in the summer yet, so we're excited to catch the summer vibes in Brighton and hit the beach. We've been in
Hopefully
October and we've been in
15
February.
days of sun is
Yes, I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
That'd be amazing. Summer's the best. Summer in Brighton is the best. Cliche, but it is.
It is the best for sure. So we've heard from Bushy that you're a stats guy, and I would expect nothing less being a Seagulls fan, because that's
right.
So when you joined the Hounds, were you surprised, or maybe about how much or how little they were using stats, and kind of how are you thinking about that with this year coming up?
I think it wasn't really a surprise, just through conversations, and I think just a little bit of knowledge of the club before, and how kind of the successes it had had and how it worked. And then once we got rolling, because things started pretty quickly with, the combine and getting the roster and signing people. And so even me just getting in there, Rob, Vish, Bushy, they'd all started looking through some numbers anyway. And I think everyone kind of is. I don't think that's ever a secret now in football anywhere. So it was more, how can I show them what I've done in the past and how I can complement and add. And again, I wanted to research the USL Championship more than anything, because every league has its kind of nuances within it. And so then, even 6 weeks later, in a sense, since we all started chatting, we've kind of narrowed down the searches even more, like who has success, who doesn't. And so that's kind of how we're trying to build out the roster a little bit. But then you can't just use numbers only. So it's a tool at the end of the day, and then you got the eye test and references, and you just got to hit as many touch points as possible. But the numbers, when you don't have 10 full-time analysts, it helps kind of refine your search and speed up the process at the end of the day. And so, and someone might jump that you didn't think was going to jump, and then someone people think is great might not. And so it just gives you again the bird's eye view on it all, I think, a little bit.
Yeah. So, I mean, that kind of really leads into what I was about to ask. Like, obviously, you're looking at the numbers, you're trying to make decisions before these guys come into camp, but then you see them in person. And so how do you kind of navigate what you see on the paper versus what you're seeing in person and make some of those decisions? And what are you looking for in trying to make that decision?
Positionally is going to make a difference. So, obviously you don't want the same numbers from a forward that you would want a centre back. So you try and you're creating lists based on your kind of game model and what positionally you'd like to see. Especially with Rob now, he's going to let something a little bit different. And so we look for those types of players. And then from the personality, which I think ultimately is like 75% of coaching anyway. What's cool about the roster right now and just getting to meet the boys is there is a ton of continuity from a big key group, and I would include like Chico in that, because he's walked back in, it's like he never left. So and I think we're all equally as excited as like coaches and fans to have him back. So that's a really cool piece, adding him in. So then you've got to let the new guys kind of, some people are going to hit the ground running, which you hope kind of everyone does. We've also got to help people through, because there's always going to be little bumps in the road here or there, or a session or a game. And so it's making sure the data's right and they fit the style and they fit the responsibility on the pitch, but also managing a human being, as much as a cliche kind of as it is now. I think is a massive part of it. So, and we've got some guys that have only been in Pittsburgh for the first time ever. So moving with families or moving on their own. And so all of that's just part of it. And that's what's really cool about the group and the leadership and the continuity is I think those guys are going to get an arm around them and a push all in the right direction straight away from those players that have been here. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. I know you don't want to get pigeonholed as the stats guy, but we're going to keep talking about stats, because anytime we would anytime we would talk to Bob would just be like, it's what I was feeling. And we're like, okay, cool.
Right.
But I was thinking about stats, and it seems like there's different buckets where you can kind of have kind of like full team stats over the course of the season. You could have individual stats. One of the things that we've heard rumblings about, and I don't know if this is true or not, but obviously guys in the Prem will wear like the vests, and you'll have kind of like live tracking of sort of their vitals during the game and things like that. Are you thinking that the Hounds will do anything like that? Is there any sort of benefit to you guys at this level to be doing something like that? Just what are your thoughts?
The GPS and heart rate stuff just came in actually last week.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So hoping to get with Sam and kind of start getting some baseline numbers from, and again, that gives you, based on your game model, how you want to play, teams in the league. So yeah, that's just come in. So pretty excited to kind of start using that and put that together too.
Just like walk us through a quick scenario, because the vast majority of us are never going to be sitting on the bench while these like metrics are being tracked. How do you like give us a scenario how you'd use that to make a decision in the game?
I think when you've got the live data, let's say you're playing player X who has a tight hammy or something like that, or whatever. Or if you know that they're not quite as fit as they need to be based on they've been out for 2 weeks or whatever. Again, it's kind of like the recruiting numbers. You don't use it it's not like hard and fast. If this happens, then do this, or if this happens, do that. You're just monitoring a situation. So like there's sprint numbers people hit, there's high intense distant numbers that people hit, there's overall distance that people hit. And so really, I think the GPS is more of a tool for, I hate some of the phrases, but like load management in a sense, like, or if you need an impact person, there's speed, or it's more about that kind of stuff on the side than anything else. But based on training and everything like that, you're trying to make sure you're not peaking in February from a physical standpoint, and that you're peaking in August. You know what I mean? Like it's a long season, so you don't want to be the fittest you can be in February. You want to make sure those physical outputs kind of match that as well. So, and then also the different people. So some people are built for speed, and some people are built for distance. And so you can't just purely base results on like whether they're a good player or you're going to play them or not. And so you have to use the whole package, and not, obviously it's not like one stroke for one and another for another. So you have to make sure that you're using the whole spectrum of it as a tool more than anything. But it's interesting once you start seeing it and getting into it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and that kind of leads to the next question. I think a lot of us, when we watch soccer, we can watch a game and we do our post game full 90 that Liz does, and she'll interview people. Oh, that was a great game. They don't know why. A casual fan may not know why the team played well or why the team didn't play well. Sometimes games look bad and you end up winning them or drawing them when they shouldn't have. Sometimes games look really good and you don't win. So is there a stat or two that you're kind of looking at that you go, that's kind of an indicator of what's going well, what's not? Are there stats that people never really talk about that you like talking about that I think, would help maybe a casual fan understand the game a little bit more?
Yeah, I think we actually just were on a call about this today. We want to nail down like our team kind of KPIs. So like the key performance indicators for us as a team. And so football's is the most random sport in the world, right? So you're trying to eliminate the randomness through coaching and recruiting and all of that. And so big thing for me is that I started doing at Duquesne was these post-game recaps. And so that way, if you look at the game as a whole, win, lose or draw, how were you in terms of like moving forwards? And in college, obviously it's like a 3-month sprint. And so it's a little bit different. And so we want to get down those KPIs this week and talk about them, and then you can measure them from training and film, and you can get the guys to look at them. And so I wish I'd give you more information on that, but we know what we want. I think you guys, again, I don't think a whole lot's going to change from what you guys have seen through the years. When you win the league, hopefully you don't have to adjust. You don't want to adjust too much just for the sake of adjustment. And so those are kind of the big ones we need to nail down at the moment. I think again, it's a bit of Arteta loves talking about it, but your duel rate. So if you win more of your duels than you lose, you're probably in with a pretty good chance of winning the game, whether you you're a team that defends in a low block, or if you're a pressing team, if you're above average, and you're kind of in that plus 50% mark with your duel rate, you're going to have a good chance at winning games. And so that's a very easy one. And then every team's probably got their own kind of KPIs based on like style and game model and all of that. So those are the big ones.
Yeah. I mean, so obviously you're studying these things day in and day out. Over the past few years, like expected goals has kind of become a big thing in soccer overall.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Do you care about it? Does it matter? Does it matter for like anywhere in soccer? Does it matter for the USL Championship? Is that different based on those levels of play? Like, yeah, your thoughts.
Yeah, there's so many different models too, right? So like there's some models are really good, some are okay. I think it does matter, but I think it's context. So like if you have a player that can just like bang shots from 25 yards out, you're not going to stop that guy from doing that. There's a skill set. If you've got Steven Gerrard, you're not going to tell him not to shoot. So like again, it's XG is important because I think again it's kind of like a tool. So like if everybody wants to shoot close to the goal, that's an important thing. That's usually how you score. Even the worst model of XG is going to tell you whether you were shooting in the box or not. But you also might have a player that you play at X that you're like, we really want you to shoot. So like even if you're 25 yards out, shoot. Like the Morgan Rogers thing at the moment that's going around, like maybe he is outperforming. He's not done this before, but maybe he's been practicing for 18 months at long shots because now teams are so good at sitting deep and defending deep. There's got to be a way to score from outside the box. So again, I'm going to sit on the fence, cliche, but it is. I think it's a really useful. I think it's a really useful tool. I think the team that usually wins is probably going to have a little bit more. Obviously, again, football with randomness and transitions and all of that. But I think it's a useful tool, and I think people are harsh on it because it is used probably way too much. It's probably out there way too often on TV and stuff like that. But it's certainly something we want to look at just from a shot quality standpoint for some of the guys. And again, based on skill sets. So there's guys you want close to goals. There are guys you want a little bit that you're cool with being further away. So I think it's one of those.
Yeah. I'm gonna have fun talking to you this season.
Yeah, right.
Adam, you beat me too. I was going to ask you if the team has any kind of KPIs that you guys have set that you're going to be measuring towards. It sounds like you guys are still working on that. You personally, this is your first jump into kind of the pro level. Do you have any personal goals for yourself? When you look back at the end of the 2026 season, what are you going to see and say that was a success?
Difficult from a kind of an assistant coach standpoint because again, you're coming into a scenario where you've got some big personalities, some winners, some experience, and so I think one of my biggest things that I've just told myself the whole time is to make sure that I'm complimenting everything that's being done and has been done, but also just making sure that I'm adding in from my skill set. And so what's been amazing is going into it, and there's just been in the office now, it's just like a think tank. There's whiteboards everywhere. There's like TV. We're looking at data, players. I put together like a doc for everything with the recruitment. And so like, it's for me, it would be one to win the thing again. I said to the guys when I got in, I said, some of you had a parade now. I'd like one of those. So I think if you're not in to win it, why are you in it? It's kind of how I feel about it. And so ultimately, I think you set little targets for yourself. I haven't like nailed down any one thing for just myself because I want to make sure that, again, there's some guys out there just doing a great job, and the team's been doing a great job. So making sure that it's kind of a flawless transition more than anything.
Yeah. Adam, I think we could sit here and talk to you all night, but we got to be respectful of your time. We're just going to have you back. We're going to run into you at the end of games, and we're going to spend 20 minutes of your time chatting then too. We really appreciate you taking time out of your Sunday night to come and chat with us. Best of luck. I know you guys start the actual like preseason camp this week. Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully tomorrow, as long as the weather
right.
cooperate.
So best of luck with the guys. Best of luck with preseason and getting into the season. We're really looking forward to all that you're going to bring to the team. And yeah, man, we really appreciate you taking some time to chat with us.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I'd love to hop on whenever you guys want it. All good.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Thanks, Adam.
All right,
Have a
guys.
good night,
See you
man.
guys soon.
See ya.
See ya. That was great.
Oh my gosh. He fits in so well.
It does. It does.
Yeah. It just feels like we keep harping on this idea of it feels like pleasant surprises. And I think we had said that having somebody like Adam come in to me feels like a pleasant surprise. To hear how much his opinion and sort of how much he is being welcomed to contribute, I think is amazing. I hearken back to when Rob Vincent came in and I was like, oh, based on your offensive experience, are you telling Bob? And he was like, whoa, you don't tell Bob anything. Like Bob, you're just kind of here. This feels again like the opposite. They brought in Adam because he has a skill set that they're like, we're lacking here and we welcome your feedback. So yeah.
Yeah,
really,
I mean,
really
just his personality too, right? Like you could tell he's thoughtful, but you could tell he's really personable. And I think that like there's a set of coaches and a sporting director that can build really strong interpersonal relationships with the guys, and that I think is awesome.
Yeah, it will
Plus,
be. Go ahead, Justin.
I was going to say, plus I love that he's a forward, and I think that will, it just going back to like some of our issues over the past couple of years, being like, hey, we got to score. Thinking about Rob as the head coach and Adam as the assistant coach, and both of them having been goal scorers or forwards, I feel like that's going to bode well for this team and kind of the way we set up in the games this year.
Yeah. Josh Brown, -X11 asked, will the Hounds still be playing Lily Ball next year or some modified version or something else? I think everything that we've seen and everything that we've kind of heard makes us think that it is not going to be Lily Ball. It's going to be something else. But we'll see once they actually take the field and start kicking things around. One weird tangent. As soon as Adam jumped on, I had seen pictures of Adam, but I was like, he kind of looks like Rob. I'm waiting for some local publication to have a picture of Rob and call him Adam, or have a picture of Adam and call him Rob, because there's a lot of similarities there. But maybe we should have them both on at the same time and just like, see if we can confuse people.
It'll happen at one of the winter practices when both of them have beanies on, and they're trying to keep warm. And they have the coat and the beanie and the beards are, it'll happen.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we do appreciate Adam jumping on and talking to us. It sounds like there's going to be a lot of new things in the back room, on the sidelines, all of that we can look forward to this season, all sorts of new areas of the game that we can have conversations about. Like we said, have them back on and talk about some of the stats as the season progresses. What sort of things are they seeing in players? And he seems really open to talk about all of that. So really, really, really great stuff. Guys, a couple of other bits of news that wanted to make sure that we talked about here. The first one, Vactor and Edric have restructured their contracts. So they now have a contract for 2026 and an option for 2027. Prior to this, for those who don't know, they had both signed a 1-year deal with an option for this year. And so the team said, after the success of 2025, we want to bring you guys back for 2026. In the past, that kind of would have been it. It's like, okay, we pick you up for 2026. Once 2026 elapses, then we'll have a conversation about your contract and whether or not we want to bring you back. And we've seen players at the end of that 2026 season would go and find somewhere else, or they would get signed by somebody else, and the Hounds would get nothing from it. And so this is a complete shift. This may be the first time, I think, that we've seen them go into an option season and restructure a deal and say, no, we want to put pen to paper for 2026 and have an option on 2027. Steve, I know that this is something you've been calling for like forever. So you have to be happy about this. Yeah.
Oh, I am thrilled. I mean, we have had so much, like you said, like pleasant surprises. All good news this offseason, right? To me, though, I think this is the biggest piece of news because we've had in our conversations is this an indication of how different things are? Is this an indication of how different things are? And each time we're like, we think so, we think so. To me, this is the thing that says, this is how different this organization is being run, that we're not going to let these guys, right? Like, I mean, if we look back and look at some of the players that we've lost over time because they were at the end of their option year and other teams were coming calling before the end of the season, like there's a big list of really good players that have walked at the end of an option year after their second season. To know that these guys will not be walking because other teams are talking to them is absolutely fantastic to me. And I just love it. And they're both really great guys. And I think they fit in to the team culture really well and great players. So, I mean, two probably of the top, probably four best first year defenders I think we've ever seen in the past 8 years.
Justin, your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, I'll argue you a little bit, Steve, on this is the biggest piece of news. I mean, we do have
No, I think it is.
We do have a new coach for the first time in 8 years, which I think is probably the biggest piece of news. But I think, like you said, this is the biggest indicator of a shift in the way this organization is operating. And so I do love that. And I think, especially for Beto, I think, a guy coming out of college, in looking like he's going to be a really solid center back or defensive midfielder, whichever they decide to play him at, for a lot of years to come. I think this is a really good indication that the Hounds are saying, hey, we want our guys and we want them around for a little while. And I think, you look around the USL and it is becoming, it's more common that there's transfer fees and things being thrown around. And so I think it is important that, a couple years ago it was more trades and that sort of thing. So the contracts weren't quite as important, but in the, recent future with some transfer fees and things being thrown around, I think it is really good that we got these guys locked up for another 2 years, or could have them locked up for another 2 years, and gets us going, as we look toward Division One.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. I want to go back now and kind of look at who else on the roster isn't at least kind of our decision to make at the end of this season. But I mean, if you think about it, if we had done something like this in the past, maybe we would still have a Sean Suber. Maybe we would still have, some of these other big names like a Joe Greenspan, because at least at the end of the season, they don't have the flexibility to go to talk to somebody else. Even if they're interested in going, you still own their rights. So you can negotiate. And Justin, to your point, maybe you sell the rights if they really want to go and you're getting something back for it, as opposed to just, well, we'll wait and see at the end of the season, and then they are able to walk for nothing. So we want to give the guys the best opportunity to play and the best opportunity to make money. This isn't about like locking people into a deal, but you also don't want great talent to be looking around going, well, I don't have anything, so I got to make plans for something and not certain about what their future is. And so I think this works out great for the club. This works out great for the players. And Justin, to your point, it's just one more of those indicators that like things behind the scenes are happening differently, which I think we're all really, really happy about. So,
and to your thought there, Mike, like these guys aren't going to sign a deal for the same amount of money. Like they're not going to sign a longer deal for the same amount of money. So your point, like we want these guys to make money and get what they're owed and all that kind of stuff. And I'm sure some of this from the club was, hey, you guys did really well this past year and we need to lock down our defense for a couple of years. And so here's some extra money and an extra year on the contract.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Make it worth their while. So, So going from the back line to the front line, guys, we also signed goal scorer Trevor Amon. Interestingly enough, Trevor Amon was the Golden Boot winner in 2023 in League One with Northern Colorado Hailstorm. So technically we have both Golden Boot winners from 2023 in Trevor and Chico. He signed with us from Sacramento after also spending time in Tulsa last season. Justin, your thoughts? I mean, I know in the past we've brought in kind of proven goal scorers and they have kind of failed to gel with this system. We've said we're not sure if this is the same system. So your thoughts on having two Golden Boot winners from the same year?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when you lose 3 out of our 4 forwards from last season, like you gotta have something and you gotta figure out some way to replace that. And so I'm glad that we've signed another forward. I think, having the opportunity to work with a guy like Dikwa toward the end of his, toward the probably end of his career, but like a guy who has had proven stuff in this league and has scored in this league, many, many times, can give him on some thoughts and help him along and all that kind of stuff. Like you relish that opportunity, you take those opportunities. And I think that's what helps a guy like Charles Hall be really good is, Robbie Mertz, Danny Griffin have been around for a while. And so they can have, in his first year, they can be like, hey, do this, try this, figure out this. And I think this can be sort of the same situation with Amon and Dequa. And so I'm hoping that works out really well. He looks like a good player. I love some of the highlights, getting on the end of crosses. And when you keep guys like Junior and stuff around, you want people who can get on the end of crosses. So he looks like he can. And so I'm excited.
Yeah.
Steve, does this indicate to you, bringing in someone like him, that maybe we are going to have a change and maybe we do play two up top, or is it just too early to tell? He could very much be a backup for Chico.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's too early to tell, and we have other attacking players that could be playing up top regardless of what we do. What I think, for me, the biggest indication that this is that the organization is not satisfied to not go into the season without experienced players and players that offer something different, right? So we've got 17 players announced at this point, which once we get another goalkeeper, that's a full 18, and none of them are playing for the first time professionally. And I think there's quite a bit of difference in some of the midfielders that we brought in, or midfielders attacking wingers, right? Like Goldthorpe, is that his name? Yeah. I think Amon brings something a little bit different than what Chico or what Larson has, right? And so, Souza looks like a very different type of defender than I'd say what else we've got option wise. And so I see this as much more, hey, we are not just putting together guys that are going to compete for minutes, but we're also putting together a team that has the quality that when we need to change something up, we're not doing it like substitution, or doing a defender for a forward for a defender. We're actually changing things tactically. So I think that's where I see their big strength in signings like him.
Yeah, really excited to kind of see how this all shakes out. To your point, no two players seem to be the same. And I think that there are a number of teams that have had a lot of success because that gives you a little bit of flexibility in how you can deploy systems. And so I am really interested to see. I don't even think preseason is going to give us a clear indicator of what's going to happen here, but just kind of what, Rob and Adam and Bushy and Vis all have in mind on those whiteboards once the season gets rolling here. But I do think be a lot of fun.
I do think preseason will give us a bit more of an indication, because we've got 16 field players right now. Like, we're not looking to fill in a third of the roster with players in camp, right? Like, we could go into the season and field a starting 18 or a game day 18 with a backup keeper. And that's a huge difference. So I think there is some sense where I'm hopeful that next Monday show up at the stadium or at Montour and see something that we see a month later for the season opener.
Yeah.
And I would agree with you. I was going to say, I would agree with you too. I think one of the things that I think this team has done fairly well over the past couple of years is those mid-season transactions, and bringing in Jockerson 2 years ago, bringing in Boone this past year. And it's like, you'd love to see a few more of those, like, move to the beginning of the season. Like, so I'd love to see like an experienced forward brought in here, a third experienced forward. It doesn't have to be someone who's proven as Adekwa, but like someone who's scored some goals in this league, brought in toward the end of preseason here, where we're not trying to make an adjustment midseason, not trying to have Adam talked about it. Sometimes when those guys are moving, they've never been to Pittsburgh, and so they don't know where to eat. They don't know where the restaurants are, and they're trying to figure out a whole life outside of soccer, as well as trying to gel with a whole another set of guys on the field. And so I would love to see a couple more of those signings, right now, where they have almost a full they may not have the whole preseason, but they at least have most of the preseason to get gelled with the rest of the team.
Yeah. I was going to say the other thing is that we know that there are guys in camp that have not been announced yet. So we have no idea how many of those guys are college guys, how many of those guys are experienced players looking for a spot. I know one of the things that we always tend to do is we go into the preseason, we make assumptions based on who we're seeing, like, well, they've got to be the starter, right? And then you never hear from them again. So there could still be guys that are like in the system working their way through that are going to be massive impact players that we haven't even heard about yet. So while it's great that we have all of this experience already, what else is like lurking behind the scenes that's going to be joining this team and being able to make an impact? So lots to be excited about for sure. Guys, one other big bit of news, and it's pretty impactful from a merchandise standpoint, is that the Hounds are no longer signed with Charlie. So we win the championship and we say, see you later. And we have now signed with Hummel as our new kit providers. And it sounds like some people within the fandom have known about this for a while, but the team just announced it. Justin, your thoughts on switching from Charlie to Hummel?
Yeah, at first I was like, I think what I associate Hummel with, like off the top, is like the Mexican kits with like 1,400 sponsors on the kits, and I'm just like, I was just kind of like, oh man, like this is not, And then I think we posted their website and some of the other teams that they're with. I think the kit darlings of this past year were Portland Hearts of Pine, which are a Hummel team. Forward Madison has been on the, everybody's been talking about Forward Madison and their kits, and they're also a Hummel team. And I think the other team that we see a lot is Charleston, and I've very much appreciated Charleston's kits over the past couple of years, and they're also a Hummel team. And so that gave me a lot more confidence of like, okay, we're not getting a white T-shirt with 1,400 sponsors on it. We're getting a well-designed kit, and so I'm excited to see what they create for this year, and hopefully that fixes some of the supply issues as well.
This is true, Steve. The other rumor swirling, and it's probably not Hummel's fault at all. It sounds like a lot of the designs come from in-house, but the hoops might not be making a return. Thoughts on that?
I mean, we've had a couple seasons without them, and when they came back, it was beautiful. I mean, it's the same issue I think I have with U.S. soccer. Like, give me an identity with the kit. So it doesn't have to be exactly the same all the time, but I want something that like maybe it's not full like black and yellow hoops, but something that harkens to that in the elements or the design, right? Like maybe you want something a little more all black, but you've got some like pinstripes or something of yellow going through it, right? Like I think like that's just, I don't like it, right? Like you see global soccer kits for teams around the world, for countries around the world. And it's like, when you see that kit, what that kit is, if you pay attention. And I think that's the thing with the Bumblebee kit. You see everything from the Bumblebee kit to that hoops behind you, and you see kind of the evolution through them and a couple of years off in there, but it's like, oh yeah, that's a Hounds kit. And I think anybody in the USL that pays attention knows it's a Hounds kit. And so for me, it's just like, that's what I want.
And Hummel's logo is a bumblebee. So like it just felt perfect, but we'll see. If you follow us on Instagram, we don't post over there a ton, but Peter, who's been on the show a ton, he's part of this crew, put out some mock-ups. They are not official mock-ups. These were just kind of like what he had in mind. They were amazing. I told him I would buy any one of those. So I would.
And I'm annoyed at him because they're so good that I'm not going to get something that good.
He did a hoop variant that makes it like almost like wavy. So it still looked like hoops, but it was just a little bit different, a little bit tweaked to it, an evolution to it that looked amazing. So we'll see. We know we've talked to, I think it's Ben, who's in charge of kind of those designs. We've had him on the show before, talked about that process. We'll have to kind of see what Ben and his team come up with, and maybe have him back on the show and pick his brain a little bit. I know the bridge design that we had 2 years ago was, I think, a hit. People loved it. It sold like crazy all over town. But I think for those of us who've been around for a while, Steve, to your point, I think we like the identity of the hoops. I'm saying I was all opposed to it until last season. And then I was like, fine, I'm on the bandwagon. Let's go. We won a
true.
championship with it. So
Truth.
like let's stay with the hoops.
I appreciate the blazing honesty, Mike.
I'm just saying, like I get, whatever. You take in new information, you make
it's beautiful. I love it.
Justin, are you gonna be disappointed with no hoops?
No, I'm more I think I'm more, as long as it's black and yellow, I'm good with it. And I think one of the things I have not particularly liked about the Hounds kits over the past couple of years is the extreme use of gray. And I'm like, that is not a Hounds or a Pittsburgh color. And so that's been the one disappointing. So as long as it's black and yellow, and you can tell it's black and yellow, and it doesn't look black and gold, what a real gold, but it has to be a Steelers, Pittsburgh, gold. Then we're good. I'm happy.
I say the Pens for a while did that like Vegas gold, which is now almost like the USL Championship gold. It's like a champagne. Yeah, I wouldn't want to see that. We got to keep the color scheme. I don't think that they would deviate from that. I would hope not. But yeah. So yeah. Guys, that is the predominant news. As we mentioned with Adam, practice starts this week. So we are here. We know the preseason kicks off February 1st or 2nd is our first game. So that's literally like a week away, which is insane to say that we're almost already through January. But we know that a bunch of the guys have been in town. We know a bunch of the guys have been training together already, which is great. Adam alluded to the fact that he's already walking into a locker room with a bunch of characters and a bunch of personality. And it will be interesting to see how kind of the new guys integrate into that. Because especially, we talked a lot last season. Yes, we won the championship, but that was probably not our best team in quite some time. So, how do these guys kind of take the championship, kind of put it in their back pocket, and then realize that there's still a lot of work to do and press forward will be very interesting to kind of see. So, lots to come. Yeah. Guys, any other kind of final thoughts before we get out of here on this one?
Nope. I think I'm good for today.
Yeah. Justin, what's the snow situation like in Lebanon?
We are probably somewhere between 10, 12, 14 inches, somewhere there. And so I think we've done two rounds of shoveling today. And probably going to wait until tomorrow to do the next one. But we're trying to keep things clear. And then I realized I'm going to have to dig out my car tomorrow. But it'll be interesting to do.
Yeah. My kids are supposed to be remote tomorrow, and one of them is already trying to angle to go skiing tomorrow instead of being remote and dialing in on his phone from the slopes. And I'm like, I don't know about that, dude. That might be pushing it. So
we have a traditional snow day tomorrow, and so they took the Friday before Memorial Day that we were supposed to have away. So that'll change things a little bit for us later this spring, but I think after this, then we go to flexible instruction days. So
just go. Yeah, you're fine. Yeah. Alrighty. Well, hopefully everybody is staying warm. Hopefully everybody has power. Hopefully everybody can shovel out. It's going to be a cold week ahead. Hopefully it doesn't, limit the team at all in terms of preseason and getting ready for the big show here, guys. Stay warm. Thank you, everybody. We appreciate that everybody is joining us live or is listening to this. We appreciate all the comments. We see them. We try to throw some up on the screen. And once again, thanks to Adam for joining us. We anticipate a massive season from him as well. So I think that's it for us. Thank you, everybody. We will be back with more Hounds and Riveters content for you very, very soon.
See ya.
Later.